this video, we're going to look at writing equations for parallel and perpendicular lines. So let's review for a second. We know parallel lines have the same slope, so same slope, and then perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. Reciprocal. All right, so you're going to be asked a question most likely that looks like this. It's going to say write a line or write an equation that's parallel to this line, y equals negative 4x plus 1, and it has to pass through this point negative 2, 7. All right, so our job is to write an equation for a line that's parallel to this line and it has to cross through this point. So our job first is to remember any time we need an equation for a line, as long as we know a point and a slope, we can use this point slope formula. And that's exactly what we need here. Because we can call this point x1, y1, and then we can find the slope if we know what parallel means. So parallel means the same slope. And the slope of this line would be negative 4 because it's in slope-intercept form. So our slope is negative 4, x1 is negative 2, y1 is 7. So now we can write the equation of this line by saying y minus y1, which is 7, equals negative 4 times x minus x1, which is a negative 2. So then all we have to remember is when we say minus a negative, we change that to plus. So now y minus 7 equals negative 4 times x plus 2. All right, so now typically this is going to be added into the question. It's going to say, make sure to write your answer in slope-intercept form. So let's do that. So our answer right now, we have y minus 7 equals negative 4 times x plus 2. So you can go about this a couple different ways, but what I would probably start out doing is just distributing this negative 4. So y minus 7 equals negative 4x, and distribute negative 4 to 2, so that would give me minus 8. Now the last step to make this y equals mx plus b form, or slope-intercept form, is isolate this y value. So we need to move this minus 7 by adding 7. So then that's going to give us y equals negative 4x plus, or actually it'd be minus 1. And that would be our answer. All right, let's look at one more of those real fast. So let's say we have another equation, but this time it says, and once again we're still doing parallel, so this time it says x minus 3y equals 9. So our only issue here is that, oh, I left out our point, at 3, negative 1. So once again, we're writing the equation for a line that passes through, well, that's parallel to this line and passes through this point. So we have our point, we have our x1, y1. The issue is this line is not in slope-intercept form, which means we don't know the slope, so your job is to put it in slope-intercept form. So remember, you're always going to usually add or subtract this x term. So negative 3y equals negative x plus 9. Then you're going to divide by whatever's in front of y. And that's going to give us our equation. So it's y equals x over 3, or we could just say 1 over 3x minus 3. So now we do know our slope. Our slope is 1/3, and then our point is x1, y1, or 3, negative 1. So now we can take this and we can say, okay, our slope is 1/3. Our point is 3, negative 1. So now we're going to say y minus y1, which is negative 1, equals m, but instead of m, we're going to write 1/3 times x minus x1, which is 3. And now we're just going to essentially do the same thing. So the part we were missing was this slope, and that's the part you have to find by just isolating y. Once you isolate y, you'll know what the slope is. It'll just be in front of x. All right, so now, once again, minus and negative changes to plus. So then we're just going to distribute, and we're going to make or isolate our y value. So y plus 1, excuse me, y plus 1 equals 1 over 3 x minus, let's see, 1/3 times 3, that would just be 1. All right, so then how would we isolate x, or how would we isolate y? We would subtract 1. So then our equation for our line would be y equals 1/3 x minus 2. That would be the equation of a line that's parallel to, I can't even remember, whatever line they gave us at the beginning. All right, so now let's look at a few more examples. Let's look at perpendicular. So perpendicular, if we want a perpendicular line to, let's say, y equals 2x minus 4. And we're going to pass through at 4, 3. So this is no different than the last problem. We still know that 4 is x1 and 3 is y1. But we still don't know the slope. If we look at 2, we would say, okay, the slope here is 2. However, we're doing perpendicular now, which means we need opposite reciprocal. So we need to take 2, and we need to do two things. First, we need to flip it. So this would be like saying 2 over 1. So we're going to flip it to 1 over 2. The second thing we need to do is make it negative. So the slope is actually 1/2, and then our point is 4, 3. So the trick with perpendicular is you have to make sure when you find the slope, you have to flip your fraction, which is the reciprocal, and then you have to make it, you have to flip the sign, which is also opposite. So opposite sign, flip fraction. So now here's what we have. We have m equals negative 1/2. We have our point is 4, 3. So this will give us the equation for a line perpendicular to y equals 2x minus 4, which is what we started with. So now y minus y1, which is 3, equals negative 1 times x minus x1, which is 4. So now we're going to do the exact same situation where we just need to make sure we isolate y. So we distribute first, and then we'll isolate y. So we'll say y minus 3 equals negative 1/2 x plus, let's see, that would be plus 2. When you multiply negative 1/2 by 4, then we would add 3 to both sides. And we would say y equals negative 1/2 x plus 5. All right, so let's wrap this all up. When you have a parallel line, okay, so if you want a line that is parallel, that means the slopes are going to be the same. So if you know the slope, it's going to be the same. And then you take your point, x1, y1, and you do the point slope formula. All right? Now, the only thing that changes when we have a perpendicular line, or we want a line that is perpendicular, instead of having the slope be the same as it was up here, our slope is just going to be opposite reciprocal. Now, if you don't have your equation in slope-intercept form, you need to make sure it is in slope-intercept form. Other than that, they both work relatively the same with parallel and perpendicular. Once again, you just have to watch out for the slope situation.